this month, Ramadan. And that's a weird transition, but that's what I was thinking of in regards to the connection with this. Ramadan is a month of fasting, prayer, a look for self-development. And this is one of those things that take place in the Muslim community. And I'll just read it. Fasting from sunrise to sunset for all adult Muslims who are not acutely or chronically ill, traveling, elderly, breastfeeding, diabetic, or menstruating. And this is observed by Muslims worldwide. As a month of fasting, prayer, reflection, and community. In commemoration of Muhammad's first revelation, the annual observance of Ramadan is regarded as one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It lasts 29 to 30 days and one sighting of the crescent moon to the next. As far as I know, there's nothing wrong with telling somebody blessed Ramadan, or even people who are not necessarily part of the Muslim faith acknowledging that this is something that they do and something that is prized within the context of their religion. There's nothing wrong with it at all. This is just this kind of conscious observance of other people's traditions and things that they give value to. That said, the fact that people can wish them a happy Ramadan, it shouldn't be done ironically. It shouldn't be done ironically. If you're going to wish somebody a happy Ramadan and you're doing so in this kind of strange, ironic way, it is more of an insult than you not saying anything at all. If Harvey Weinstein, after being convicted of all of the sexual predation, comes out on International Women's Day and cut a clip saying, hey, I just want to wish all the women of the world great job. That's not going to be taken as him wishing the women of the world great job. It's going to be taken as him being unfortunately ironic, dickishly so. If Goebbels comes out after the Holocaust and puts out a clip, a tweet, saying, hey, we just want to wish those Jews happy Hanukkah, that would not be accepted as a straight happy Hanukkah. There's context that goes beyond what the individual is saying. And I'm sorry, sometimes the context destroys any notion of the message and destroys it in such a way that any idea that you're getting across something like that in the straight way you're trying to get it across is entirely undermined by the larger context of events that hopefully, ideally, at the very least, a larger part of the world, if not people in the United States, already know. The king has no clothes, and he's flailing his dick about, despite the fact that he has no clothes. And if none of the people in the media are going to say anything about it, this person will. Secretary Blinken comes out and gives a blessed Ramadan speech. Now, this is a man that has been wrong about one war after the next to the tune of millions of Muslims being killed. And yet this person comes out and gives a blessed Ramadan speech. This is the same person that talked about his kids in the context of Syria, despite the fact that it was Biden, Obama sanctions in many respects that are killing those kids today, preventing those kids from getting access to COVID medications and preventing a rebuilding effort. We killed 500,000 people in that country under the Obama administration in Syria. It was Trump that starts pulling back in regards to what was taking place in the context of that war. Blinken was wrong all the way through, going all the way back to Iraq and every war since. So the notion that this man that has been responsible, that has backed one war after the next, that has killed mothers and children, that has implicated or instigated the United States into affairs in one Muslim country after the next to the detriment of the individuals of that country, for him to come out and say happy Ramadan, what a slap in the fucking face. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, and subscribe. You can always support this content through PayPal or Patreon. This content is brought to you by you, and I appreciate you the opportunity, allowing me the opportunity to do it. I saw this. It bugged the shit out of me. I've gotten to the point where I greatly dislike Blinken. In fact, I like Blinken less than I like Pompeo. And it's hard to get across the level of disdain I had for Mike Pompeo. Whatever it is ever higher magnitude with Blinken. He's disingenuous as Ted Cruz, if not worse. He doesn't even carry it as well as Ted Cruz, who doesn't carry it being disingenuous at all. And yet, here he is. And he puts out statements like this. The king has no clothes on and flails his short, stubby dick about constantly. And this is one of those issues where they are doing that. Are you really going to come out here and give a speech on Ramadan after the United States has invaded Iraq, invaded Syria, destroyed Libya? You set the Middle East on fire. How do you give this speech? How do you give this clip? How do you say anything to this at all? If Harvey Weinstein, and I think it was Graham Elwood that made the point about Weinstein and coming out on International Women's Day, but it's an easy get. I would argue that it's more like Goebbels. And people will be like, whoa, dude, that's too strong. How is that too strong? If it is, we're only talking about a number of degrees. It's not too strong in the context of wildly, radically different. I'm sorry, it's not. The United States decides it wants territory in a particular region of the world and redraws the world map using an event as a pretext. Reichstag fire, or in this case, the towers in 9/11. Both torched, one of a larger scale. Again, we're only talking about magnitude. We're not necessarily talking about something in order of magnitude of something different. Just magnitude. It's a rhyme. It's not a repeat. Going further, you get a reshaping of the world using lies and mendacity to invade one country after the next. Whether you realize it or not, and you may need to tilt your perspective a little bit to be outside of the U.S. In regards to dealing with actions or looking at this. You invade a country in Iraq, you get 1 million people killed in that country. You invade a country of Afghanistan. You invade Syria. You have Libya burned to the ground, basically destroyed, where they're basically selling slaves in Libya. And whether you were taking that in order to have geopolitical land, where you were taking land, is almost secondary to the point that you wanted the resources. So whether it's stealing land or whether it's stealing resources, again, we're only talking about a magnitude of difference. We're not talking about drastically different things. And yeah, Abu Ghraib prison, those black sites where those people are being beat and tortured and injured, hundreds of human beings, many of it was some of those people being killed. Again, we're talking about magnitude, not difference. Yeah, it feels uncomfortable for somebody in this country to look at their country in that way, but how can you not? If you lived in Syria, if you lived in Libya, if you lived in Iraq, if you lived in any of these countries where we were pushing to try to knock over those governments, leaving those people into fire pits, one country after the next, magnitude, but not dramatically different in regards to tenor. You can even say Hitler was overtly racist. You could say that these guys wanted to murder and maim and exterminate. And whether the point was extermination or whether the point was incidental killing off millions of a particular group, again, magnitude. 500,000 kids were killed in Iraq as a result of sanctions that were put on by Bill Clinton. Madeleine Albright said it was necessary for those babies, those children to die because of Saddam Hussein. Despite the fact that it was supposedly quote-unquote necessary, that still didn't stop George Bush from going in later to just knock over the country in its entirety. This was the thing that ends up getting 1 million Iraqis killed. This is the thing that set fire all throughout the Middle East, with proxy groups being used as battering rams that try to knock down the various governments of the Middle East to reshape and redraw that Middle East being with it being under the United States discretion. It being basically client states, vassal states, even more so than Europe. That was the plan. And the number of people who were going to die as a result of that mattered less. So, look, I get people want to make this point of saying, whoa, that's too strong. Again, we're only talking about an issue of scale. We're not talking about dramatically different things. Here's Blinken. And again, as you listen to this, think of the number of people that have died in all of these countries as a result of U.S. provocative action, not just militaristically, but also sanctions. Think of the oil being stolen right now. Think of the wheat and the harvest and all those things in Syria that are being blocked and taken. from the Syrian population, creating starvation and, for that creating energy shortages. Think of the government that was knocked over in Libya. Think of the people that were killed in Syria whose lives were made dramatically worse by our actions and instigations in that country. Think of Afghanistan and Afghanistan files, the 20 years of basically failure, of basically losing a war but staying there just because you don't want to own up to the fact that you lost the war. And within the context of all of those lives, ruined, injured, killed, maimed, babies, mothers, women. Let's hear Blinken in that context.
Today, I wish all Muslims in the United States and around the world a blessed Ramadan. Ramadan is a season of reflection, prayer, charity, fasting, and community. Many Muslims at home and abroad will again celebrate this Ramadan differently through virtual gatherings and digital interaction due to the lingering impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. While we've seen tremendous loss this past year, we've also seen stories of hope and resilience in the face of this adversity. From essential workers to healthcare professionals, Muslims have been on the front line, united in service, faith, and shared humanity. For all those who have sacrificed so much and continue to do so, we're in your debt. With our embassies and consulates around the world, the Department of State is committed to strong relationships with Muslim communities around the world. As the holy month of spiritual renewal begins, I wish all Muslims a Ramadan Mubarak.
I would tell you this. It's kind of like the Kamala Harris and the Medicare stuff. If you, as a Democratic Party, want to give black folks anything at all, keep Kamala Harris. Medicare for all. We'll take that. The expansion of Social Security, or for that matter, the elimination of student debt, we'll take that. Those things are materially beneficial in a way that people can get, that they can weigh, that they feel when they get up in the morning and when they go to bed at night. This, to me, is just a slap in the face. It's insulting. And I don't need you to give me this podunk, false necessity clip on how you give all of this blessings to the Muslims and you care for the Muslims and you want to give this attentiveness to the Muslims in your relationships around the world. What they would probably say is, leave us to our devices. Stop dropping bombs. Stop killing us with drones. Take your troops and go home. That's what they would say. They don't need this. That's a slap in the face. And that just accentuates the level of devastation that is taking place in the Middle East as a result of U.S. actions. If you want to give any kind of applaud, chest thump, hand clap, chin wag to Ramadan or any other tradition or religious tradition in regards to Islam, or in this case, the Muslim community, going home would do it. You don't need this. You don't need that. And I would go so far as again to say that is a slap in the goddamn face. Just leave. Take the troops and go home. Let those troops stay home in the United States. If you need to give those troops a job, give a jobs program. You don't necessarily need this militaristic engagement around the rest of the world. And if you are going to have this military engagement around the rest of the world where you're killing, maiming, dictating, instigating yourself into affairs of other nations that don't want you there, then don't come behind it and slap them on top of the militaristic domination by writing a video or creating a video talking about how much you care for the Muslim community, so much so that you have to take time away from your duties to talk about Ramadan. Get out of here. Like, share. God, I dislike him. You have no idea how much I dislike him. It's so over the top. It's so disgusting. It's so slimy. Whatever your capacities in the State Department, okay, fair enough. But let's just be very clear. Blinken has been wrong on everything. In every militaristic decision from standpoint of strategy that Blinken has made, at the very least that we're aware of, in our capacities as media, he's been wrong. And it has been to the detriment of lives, not to the betterment. And it comes across as he has the level of shamelessness and mendacity of a Mike Pompeo, and the way Pompeo would just openly and flagrantly lie, look you right in the face and lie. Well, Blinken, same thing. Worst liar. Like, share,